Welcome back to Occam's Razor. Please like, share, subscribe. If you have any tips you'd like to leave me, there's an email down below. If there's other tips you'd like to leave, those would be nice too. There's a link down below for that as well. Today, I'm going to be talking about Mark Steyn, but before I get there, let's look at what Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State to the United States, has said recently about Germany. Germany just gave its spy agency new powers to surveil the opposition. That's not democracy, it's tyranny in disguise. What is truly extremist is not the popular AfD, which took second in the recent election, but rather the establishment's deadly open border migration policies. The German Foreign Office responded, "This is democracy. This decision is the result of a thorough and independent investigation to protect our Constitution and the rule of law. It is independent courts that will have the final say. We have learned from our history that right wing extremism needs to be stopped." Now, please note what they just said right there. It is independent courts that will have the final say. So, that is to say that apparently in Germany, um, you can just go ahead and accuse people of things, even if it's not in the law, and then we'll let the courts settle it, sort it out. Yeah. So this is basically how far-left governments act everywhere. And Germany has been trapped in a far-left government for quite a while. In fact, most of the AfD support that they do get is from the areas that used to be under communist rule. And why is that? Because they see a lot of the same things being done by the current government that were done under the communists. And that's why they're voting AfD, and that's why AfD is getting really popular. Now, why do people not like AfD? Well, it's because they've been subjected to a rather very vigorous propaganda campaign. And it's very easy to destroy any argument when it comes to accusations, when it comes to the AfD. Now, mind you, there may have been a few party members, but they are like that in all parties. You will have party members in all parties that are elected members that will not act properly and in keeping with the ethics and morals of the party. We see this all the time. I'm sure if you looked into German politics, you would find plenty of German politicians of the ruling party that have been found to be unethical in many things. But instead, the news only targets the AfD. Now, if we look at their manifesto, and if you bother to go through it, you will not find anything in there that deals with racism. Not one thing.
For the last 70 years, Germans have had an electoral choice between the Christian Democrats, the so-called right, and the Social Democrats, the so-called left, and whoever you vote for, they generally govern with the whatever it's called, the FDP, the guys in the middle, until just a couple of years ago, where it's now a coalition with the Green Party. But basically, for 70 years, it's the Christian Democrats, Social Democrats, and that should be enough choice for anybody. That's enough democracy. That's enough political parties for anybody. You now, I think, are the third biggest party in the German parliament. Why was your party, Alternative for Deutschland, necessary?
Well, because the former conservative party, the Christian Democrats, are no longer conservative. The Social Democrats, who traditionally represented the working class, are no longer representing the working class. You then have the former Libertarian Party, which is the FDP. They are no longer libertarian. They all bought into this whole woke kind of agenda, So they're selling out the constituents they were representing.
Right.
And these people, they had no representation anymore. And I always voted for the Christian Democrats and the Libertarian parties. In Germany, you have 2 votes. I always voted like that. And I did so for the last time in 2005.
That was Christine Anderson being interviewed by Mark Steyn a couple of years ago. Now let's wrap it into something more current from Mark Steyn, where he writes, "So in the end, 2.5 years of Pierre Poilievre micro-gatekeeping the Tory party so as not to frighten the horses counted for less in Canadian politics than 2.5 hours of Tony Blair having dinner at Lady Potter's Rail Michelin-starred River Cafe in West London. What a bad dope for soul should Sir Tony ever invite you to join him so he can pitch you as Prime Minister of New Zealand or the Netherlands. As to Mr. Poilievre's micro-gatekeeping, here is a fine example of that from close to home. 2 years ago, the alleged conservative leader called the views of a Mark Stein show guest vile and forced 3 of his backbenchers to apologize for lunching with her. Yes, I know, there's a lot of lunching and dining in this column, but if you're stuck in the drive-through lane at Wendy's, it might already be getting to you. That's the point. The globalists handle even the restaurant bookings better than the faux conservatives do. Poilievre's target that day was Christine Anderson, whom he called racist and hateful. As it happens, Frau Anderson is an elected representative of the people, unlike Pierre at the time of this writing, and her party, the AfD, is currently leading in the German polls, also unlike Pierre. Right. So why is he taking a jab at Pierre? Well, what he said there was true. At the time, if you recall, Dr. Leslyn Lewis, who I believe did not get reelected in the last election, she was one of the more vocal proponents against the COVID vaccine mandates, which the conservatives supported. Were pretty well quiet on it. Now I know Pierre Poilievre did come out and say that should be your body, your choice, but overall, the party has been pretty quiet. Like I said yesterday in the recording, conservatives refuse to participate in the citizens' inquiry. So, what can we do? What can we do? Well, we can keep pointing out where their failures were from the last election, and one of them is this, is that their inability to stand up for what's right, not only in Canada, but really what's right overall in all Western democracies, which in this case was calling out the COVID stupidity. Now, because of this, the AfD were called racist because they did compare the way that the citizens were being treated with the way Germany treated its own citizens in the 30s in making people second-class citizens, and the way they threatened to take away some of their freedoms and rights if they did not get the injection. In fact, freedoms and rights were taken from all of us who refused to get the injection at the time, and people forget that. That in itself was very bigoted. But, oh yes, of course, the ruling parties who did that, they did it for our safety. So it doesn't matter that they violated our rights. You see, because in the far left's mind, it doesn't matter what you do. As long as you do it for safety and you do it for the greater good, you can be absolved of all your crimes. But getting back to the AfD, here is something from the beginning of the interview, which is a little more relatable.
In Canada, Britain, Australia, America, Europe, from these guys, Justin Trudeau likes dressing up in blackface and singing rockabye, oh baby, with a Dixie melody. I wish these pseudo-conservatives would try dressing up in conservative face every once in a while. Christine Anderson joins me in studio. Congratulations on a hit tour in Alberta, in Ontario, in Quebec. How does it feel, though, to be called racist by Justin Trudeau, the blackface PM?
Well, whenever I get slapped with that term or any other term, I just know, gosh, they're at their wits' end. They don't know what else to do against me to shut me down. So they try this, but it's not gonna work. It's not working. I've been, named any name in the book you can think of for years now. They will not have power over me. I will not get offended by that. That is just their pathetic way of trying to shut me down. Up until now, up to no avail. They will not succeed.
How do you feel about the so-called conservative, so-called opposition leader piling on and agreeing with Monsieur Trudeau?
Well, I found it kind of peculiar that he would claim that they were not aware of my political views. I mean, seriously, the internet is full of videos. And I mean, there's one thing you can certainly not accuse me of, and that is not being outspoken. So I very clearly state what my political views are, what my political stance is. And if you didn't get that from these videos, I don't know, you must have done something wrong.
What do you make of this way that both the PM and the opposition leader attempt to portray you and people who agree with you as some kind of so-called extremist fringe? I just ran the numbers because I was curious. And your party got, 2 years ago in the last German federal election, your party got just under 5 million votes. Justin Trudeau's party, same year, 2021, in the last Canadian election, got just over 5 million votes. So apparently 500,000 votes is the difference between being totally unacceptable fringe extremists and being totally normal mainstream politicians.
Left-wing governments call everyone they disagree with names. They will call them a racist. They will call them a bigot. Actually, nobody's a bigot anymore. They just call everyone a racist, even when racism is not involved. But they do this because they have no substance in their arguments. They know they cannot call out the policies of the people they want to accuse of different things or whatever it is that they want to make up about them, because they have no substance to their accusations. But that doesn't stop them, in this case here in Germany, to use their own state spy apparatus against their own citizen. It is very much aware that the people that are in charge of Germany are so afraid of losing power that they will do anything. And that is a failing in Western democracies, where they forget that they are there to represent the people and not to tell the people what to do. Like I mentioned in my video yesterday, even in parliaments throughout Canada, whether it's provincial or federal, you will have the whip telling the members what they can ask. Not the other way around. They will be telling the members what the policy party is that they have to distribute, therefore hindering the actual flow of information up from the people they're supposed to represent up to the cabinet or the senior caucus. It's not really a way to effectively run a democracy. And we have seen these changes in our democracy over the past 10 years, where people's rights have been trampled on. And when we've asked for answers, they have ignored us, just like they have remained silent. Now remember, the Conservative Party did refuse to participate in the National Citizens Inquiry, looking into the various amounts of jibby-jab injuries and unaliving. And they continue to look at that today. And what did Pierre Poilievre do? He chastised members of his caucus for meeting with people that were elected as representatives. And you will see in this last little bit here of the interview why Christine Anderson joined the AfD and what they intend to do. And of course, Mark's got a sneaky little nickname there for the leader of the CPC. And why are people doing this right now? Why am I doing this right now? Pointing this stuff out. Because during the election, conservatives, you people remained silent on this, right? You forgot that when you represent people, you need to bring up everything that we have been concerned about. And there is a massive segment in Canada that is very upset and very tired of the same old political BS being played out day in, day out. And that is why Christine Anderson got involved with AfD, because the parties that were there were no longer representing her. And why do you think the PPC started in Canada? Because the Conservatives were no longer representing the people that followed that party. So why is it Conservatives can't look into the mirror at themselves and finally ask themselves, why did we not represent the voices of everyone we're supposed to be representing? Because you didn't during the election. You remained quiet on very important topics, and that probably cost you the election. You probably would have gotten a lot more votes And I'm not talking about switching sides of people's votes. There was over 30% of the people that did not vote in the last election. Those are votes you failed to gather, conservatives. Why? Because you tried to play the middle game. Just like you have been doing in the past, calling people of the AfD racist, ostracizing your own members in your own caucus for hanging out with people that are elected. My God, why didn't you throw people out of your caucus for hanging out with Green Party members or NDP? They're far, far more radical than even the AfD are. Oh, but no, of course, those NDP are already far left. The AfD is not far right. They're just right of center. They're right of center, and to everyone in the Western Hemisphere that's running governments that's far left, anybody that disagrees with them, you're far right. Well, this has been Occam's Razor. Please enjoy the last little bit here of the interview with Mark Stein. There's links down below for the full interview. It's about an hour long. It's well worth the watch. Very interesting information. Remember, this is a bit of a time capsule now, going back almost 3 years as to what was happening at the time. Really encapsulates the frustration that people were feeling and why parties like this became more popular. So I think I'll end it there. Talk to you later. Bye.
And it was really pure act of self-defense for me to become a member of this party, because I was determined, I'm not going to take this anymore. I'm going to get involved, and I will do something about this.
Your party is said to be anti-immigrant, which Justin Trudeau has taken to the next level, and Monsieur Poussièvre in his opposite number, and has said that, in fact, being anti-immigrant is racist. Do you want to have a little bit of a comeback on that?
Okay, so first of all, my party is not anti-immigrant. We just kind of would have liked the German government at some point to actually pass legislation to come up with an immigration law. I mean, the United States has it, Canada has it, Australia has it. We don't have no legislation covering that kind of area.
Monsieur Poussièvre